You're listening to the Sales Tax People podcast.
This week's episode of the Sales Tax People podcast, Danny and Jason sit down and talk about life, what they've experienced, what they learned from those experiences, and the power of a good perspective. They also tie it all back into sales tax, so I promise you it's worth a listen. Enjoy.
I had to start the recording because you just asked me how my week's going, and I mean, it is story time. Last week, towards the end of the week on Thursday, Paul and I actually went to Vegas to meet with some partners. Had some awesome meetings, and I took advantage of just being in Vegas, and I'd found a vehicle to buy. I was on the hunt. It's a vehicle that they don't actually make anymore. So it's a little harder to find one with that's cleaner and less mileage and, lower mileage. So anyways, I found one in Arizona. So I'm like, I'll just jump on a quick, easy flight from Vegas to Phoenix, and went and grabbed the vehicle, and everything checked out. Looks good. And I hit the road for home. And of course, just, after a day and, getting over there, and then it's like a 6-hour drive back home. So I'm driving at night, and there's just a spot in northern Arizona, just, in the mountains, trees, windy roads. And so there's deer. And I'd already seen a couple, and you can imagine where this is going. But I was just cruising, wasn't driving crazy because it's windy and, dark, and I'd already seen deer. But I come around a bend and already saw one deer that had crossed. So, but then all of a sudden this one just jumps right out. And he didn't jump right out in the front of me. It was more like he jumped in the actual side, the front side. So my whole front side fender got beat up a little bit. It hit my headlight, but didn't hit it hard enough to actually completely break it. It just broke the headlamp cover, the casing. And then, but then the deer flipped around and smashed into the passenger door. So that thing's all bent up. But it just perspective, right? I just was still kind of creeping along, and nothing sounded bad. I was just, still just driving, and I'm like, okay, I'm good to drive home, which was the biggest thing, right? I'm good. Poor deer, but we know all deer go to heaven, so that's okay. So anyways, I just cruised the rest of the way home. I was just under 2 hours from my house at that point.
Wow.
But just yesterday I finally get to a body shop in the morning after I took the kids to school. They're like, we can get this fixed, and I'm going to run it through my insurance and all that. And I'm like, okay. And then I just go through my day of meetings and everything. And then yesterday evening, I'm headed to get a haircut, and just cruising down this main road here in St. George, and a cute little old couple. The guy pulls right out in front of me. And I'm starting into the intersection, and just headed straight in the right-hand lane, and he turns out right to go the same direction as me. So he pulled out right in front of me. I slam on my brakes, literally locked him up, slid right into the guy, and still had enough speed to just smash the left kind of back corner of his car. And it hit in literally the same spot as the deer. So but now it's completely smashed in, right? Because I hit his car, the headlight's gone, my bumper's now actually mashed completely in, and just crazy, man. Everyone's okay, which again, that's always the first thing, especially that old couple. I mean, they're 80 probably at least, and they seem to be completely fine. But it was it's one of those two. You're just thank you. Everyone's good. And also, what am I doing to invite this chaos in my life?
Sounds like you have a cursed car, man.
It's the
That's
cursed
crazy.
vehicle.
Man, that is rough. I was, as we all do, catching some reels. And there was a reel that this one guy was saying he does this thing to trick his mind. You show up at the airport, you're ready to go. What we all experience from time to time. There's a delay. He says anytime he runs into a mishap like that, he does exactly what you just did. He says yes and thank you. And it's like it flips a switch in his brain to just remember, yeah, you got an hour delay, but you're going to get where you're going in 3 hours. And it took people 100 years ago, 10 days to get there, or by train, it's even slower. So just helps them put things into perspective. I love your approach, your perspective. I mean, those are significant mishaps that can derail someone emotionally, mentally. And anytime you can not ruminate on yourself and just move your thoughts outward to, yes, all deers go to heaven. The vehicle still drives. I'm in a safe spot. I can get home. The 80-year-old couple that I ran into are okay physically, emotionally. Things can be fixed. Things can be repaired. It's just a different perspective when you can really believe that everything I have is all I need, then you actually have everything you need, and your brain can function differently. And you always bring that to the table. Every experience that I've heard you walk through, every story that I've heard you share, your perspective has a tendency, not even a tendency, I think it's intentional, but you've built this into your character where you look outwardly instead of inwardly. How is this affecting me? Man, my day is ruined. And someone can ruminate on that, and it can ruin the rest of their day, their week, their month. If you're not careful, if you don't have some point where you turn off of that lane, it can ruin a decade. But I just love how you turn outward to gratitude, offer people some grace and some space, and it allows you to manage your own emotions, even though those are significant things that have happened. I'll share this in context with in the last 2 weeks, I lost my sister to a significant and courageous 3-year battle with stage 4 esophageal cancer. And, you can really get down in the dumps when it comes to cancer and its effect on yourself, a family, society, your community. But my sister really taught me something special over the last 3 years. She really lived with a great perspective of gratitude and grace. As she fought this battle, she did it publicly so people could see what it looks like, which helped untold thousands of people who have had similar experiences just not feel alone in the experience. And so I'm so appreciative of her perspective and her attitude. It's taught me so much. And your attitude is very similar. It's a blessing to know you and to gain insight from that type of perspective. Your story you just told could be just a down in the dumps complaint, and everybody would give you the grace to complain because that's worth complaining about. But you didn't share the story from a complaint perspective. You changed the story from woe is me to just think about how special this life is and how grateful we can be for where we are and what we have and what we get to do and can do. I love that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, brother. And I mean, a big part of my perspective and my approach to life is very much a part of the last 10 years of life I've had as a part of this company, right? Like this is like, what a time for us to reflect on the people, right? That really make up the sales tax people. And it's something that I talk about a lot with our group. And, we have the expertise and this experience with sales tax and, our approach. And there's no disconnect between the people that are a part of this company and our approach to all things. And then, the way that we treat our clients and take care of them and approach, just sales tax compliance as a whole, right? Of just all of these attributes, right? That the company has, that the people have. And, in fact, if you talk about or as we talk about your sister, and naturally we've had many conversations from the time that, you found out that she was getting sick, and then,
Hmm.
the diagnosis and all that. And it's that right there is an incredible story that really resonates with me of, talking about her and like how she lived, right? Like lived so much in these last 3 years. And it's something that's actually been on my mind a lot lately of when when someone passes away, we so often use the language of like, I lost them, right? Like I lost my sister, I lost my mom, I lost whoever it is, my best friend. And yes, like absolutely. And there's there's so much in that, and one with the grief and, the process. And one of the things, like, to the point here, one of the things that really sticks out to me lately is the perspective that people can have of like, even if they don't say like I lost that person, they actually go the other direction and focus more on like what they have because of that person in their life. Right. And it's like, it's really actually the focus that you even just brought with your sister in like these last 3 years. And it's a focus of gratitude and appreciation, and really remembering like the good times, right? And not necessarily even just the good times, because, just the experiences, period, right? That you have from that person, what you've learned, what you've shared together, all the emotions, right? All the love that that person showed to you or helped you learn.
Yep.
It's just, it's another big one that just is a focus on the perspective, and actually makes me think of the LinkedIn post from you that I just saw this morning.
Really quickly, I'm pausing this episode to tell you what Jason's post actually said. Jason posted this: quick reminder, if you can overthink the worst case, you can overthink the best. Don't forget to overthink the best case scenario too. Okay, that should be all the context you need.
And it actually touches very much on this subject of, if you think about it, we all live in this world, but we actually all live in our own world. And our world is completely shaped by the stories
Our domes
that
can get
are
pretty
told to us.
crazy.
Yeah. And it's the world we do tell ourselves, right? It's funny,
Yeah.
like when you see someone that seems wacky or whatever, and you're like, dude, they're living in their own. We
Yeah.
actually say it with our kid, Wilson. He's 8 years old, just Wild Man Wilson is a nickname he has. And oftentimes people are like, he's living in his own world. And it's fun, right? He's just pure energy and excitement. But, and really, we're all living in our own world, right? In this sense, because we do constantly tell ourselves these stories. And I loved your perspective in your post, because we can decide what stories we're going to tell ourselves.
Yep. Yep. It's true. It's so true. And it falls right into what you're saying across the board. Relationships are everything, right? Especially in the world of social media, um, AI, agents, bots. Um, you can, if you've got a Claude agent maybe that you've built, or you've got some other AI agent that you're working with on some research or building something or designing something, whatever the case may be. A lot of times, to enhance interaction with the real person, the agent or the bot will talk to you in a personal way, like, you're asking it to help you create some sort of a message that you're putting together, or a presentation, and then at the end of it, it says, hey, you're great and you're going to do great, now go get some sleep. you know like, it's got this interpersonal effect, but it's not real. And so I think this type of relationship, one-on-one and one-to-many, is so important. And it's reflected, to your point, in our culture, that we want our employees to be successful. We want them to be happy. We want them to be engaged, and we want them to author and own. Right? There's this concept that authorship equals ownership. And to your point, what you author in your mind you own in reality. And so you have to be careful what you're authoring, what stories you're telling yourself for sure. But we want them to author things and have ownership of things to help us grow. And in turn, it really is important what a client's expectations of us are, and how we engage with them, and how we fulfill our services. It's not just an employee and client experience is not just a motto on the wall, right? We really do believe when you collaborate with people that everybody gains confidence in the path forward. And how people experience things matters to us, because we really do want people to have peace of mind when it comes to a complicated issue that's been thrust on the marketplace in 2018. The fact that companies truly, any company anywhere in the world doing business in the US and Canada, truly has to understand that sales tax is now about where your customer is located, not where your businesses are conducted. And that's been the case for decades up until 2018. Understanding that, and understanding that you have a responsibility, and complying with that responsibility, is a complicated measure, more complex than it should be, really. We like to joke that anytime the government gets involved in trying to make things more simple and more efficient, it quadruples its complexity. And that's what happened with Wayfair. It dramatically complicated things across the environment, and across the marketplace. And so we try to simplify all of that by simply answering the questions for anybody anywhere in the world doing business in the US. State by state, it's important to know where you sell, right? That's Nexus. What you sell, that has taxability implications, and how you sell. That has implications to whether you have a responsibility, right? We joke that knowing your nexus is the first step, and that's important. But if you don't know your taxability, you don't actually know what your responsibility is. So where you sell, what you sell, and how you sell essentially helps you understand what your responsibility is, and then understanding the best approach, the most practical approach, and remedies that are available to get compliant are really important. And then just having someone in your corner who's keeping an eye on the system that you set and you wanted to forget those processes, and now you regret it, right? So the people aspect of the sales tax people is critical, because it is real people helping real people with a complex issue, gaining some simplicity so that you can have that peace of mind when it comes to your systems and processes. Nobody wants to show up in an audit. Nobody wants to show up in an audit and have underpayments or exposure or an assessment. They also don't want to show up in an audit and have huge underpayments or overpayments or money that they spent. Accountants really just want to be within a 1% variance of whatever the budget is. So there's a way to find peace of mind when it comes to sales tax.
Yeah, I mean, we got very much into just real life, right, today, and like the emotions and experiences, and it's very much relevant, right? Like
Yeah.
you said, we are all people, right? We're working on whatever we're working on and doing whatever, it is we're doing. And when it comes down to our businesses, and whether I'm an advisor and I'm advising businesses and sales tax comes up, or I'm an owner of a company, I'm a C-level person at a company, like a key decision maker, or I'm the person at my company that, is in a role where I have some responsibility over the sales tax. Like whatever the role is, there's a certain human element to everything that we're doing. And when it comes to sales tax, like peace of mind really is such an important thing. And we've all found times in our lives when you've felt somewhat siloed in what you're doing, and you
Uh-huh.
can even get in these ruts, right, in some way, shape, or form. And I would imagine anyone that's going to listen to this, and just anyone in general, has had an experience where once they actually connect with another person and there's any level of collaboration on what they're dealing with, which again can be work, it can be, anything else that you're dealing with, but specifically within work, right? And what you're doing and what you're working on, I found it here that within my role here at the sales tax people, when you get in these spots where you're like, hold on, I feel a little bit siloed and like I haven't met with Parr and I haven't met with Paul lately, and that could be like as short a period of time as like a week. And
Hmm.
you come back together and actually discuss some of these things and collaborate on even a particular subject or item. And it really is both beneficial, right? And super helpful to, move things along and get that collaboration. But it's also an emotional release. Like it is important to
Yeah.
connect and collaborate. And I think that very much ties into what you just described of the peace of mind that comes from both understanding, right? Especially
Yep.
the foundational principles of sales tax. And then the thing that, we constantly say every week on these episodes, it seems that we want to be your first, second opinion because it is
For sure.
so incredibly valuable. It's invaluable
Yeah.
even to like
Yeah.
have that collaboration on whatever you're dealing with. And, one of the things that was on the top of my mind today and coming into this episode to discuss was when people get notices and how
Hmm.
often they either just like file it away in the Michael Scott filing cabinet. If people get this reference, where throw it in the trash can, and it's like it's just it's so important to have some collaborative discussions on
Yeah.
whatever it is you're dealing with sales tax, no matter how big or small it seems. I just said this on a call yesterday with a new client that we were onboarding. Like, I really don't want you to think there's something too big or too small around sales and use tax that you can't
Yep.
bring to us. Like, that is our
Yep.
focus with our people and with our clients. And yeah, I say our people because it very much relates to us internally, right? And as everyone knows more than ever, like the approach and the culture and the environment, the standards that you create internally are absolutely going to, seep out into the market and certainly with clients and partners and whatnot. And, we're always making improvements and always have area for room
100%.
for improvement. And it's just, again, part of the beauty of even just a discussion like this is, and this is very much a look into the lives of the sales tax people on a daily. Like this is, you get on calls and we have, of course, specific subject matter or specific items to discuss. And it turns
Yeah.
into, just a great discussion of just real people having real discussions.
Yeah. It reflects the LinkedIn complex that people sometimes have. Like, people have determined what the LinkedIn platform is for. So there's things you can talk about and things you can't talk about. We have found in our environment, well, we talk about whatever we need to talk about. And, and if you don't love it, you can skip it. That's the beauty of technology. You just hit the fast forward button or skip it. Or maybe you have some similar experiences and it resonates with you, right? But I think it's valuable to be able to speak things out loud, and work through them, right? The key, and I'll switch. I'm not really switching. I mean, this is just who we are. We're real people who love sales tax and love to help people find peace of mind when it comes to sales tax. So I'm not switching back to sales tax, but all I would say is the key to your point is you just can't ignore it, right? Whether it's Nexus, whether it's the taxability of your products and services, whether it's how you sell your items, what platforms you sell them on, what systems you're using to calculate tax, to report tax, if it's a notice that you're getting from a state or another jurisdiction, the key to sales tax is you just can't ignore it. It doesn't go away. You can't set it aside. And it's the biggest margin killer out there when it comes to tax because it's applied to the transaction. And if you didn't collect it, when you had an opportunity to collect it from a willing party who's used to paying tax on transactions like this, then it ends up coming out of your own pocket with penalty and interest. So If you're running a 10 to 20% margin and you've missed collecting tax for 3 years and you have to pay that out of your own pocket, then you've lost 10 to 20% of your margin over those 3 years, just wiped out in a responsibility to pay to the state. So just don't ignore it. Come get your first, second opinion on whatever your situation is. We just would love to have a conversation about your situation. And some of the best reviews we get are people who say, man, it was so great chatting with you guys. We chatted for 30 minutes and you just helped me gain confidence that we're right where we need to be, right? It wasn't a hard sales approach. It was just, let's take a look at what your system is. Let's answer the questions where, what, and how you're managing that now. And there are multiple times where there's nothing you need to do and there's nothing we need to do for you other than to have had this conversation. And they walk away saying, thank you so much.
Has anyone ever benefited from ignoring sales tax notices, information? Like, no,
If you don't have liabilities or exposure, then you have anxiety. And if you don't have anxiety about ignoring it, you should.
Yeah. And then once you have the conversation and understand, if it is even coming to that point that you just described with a lot of the phone calls we have, like, okay, yeah, I'm good. Or, I'm a young enough company. I'm early enough. Like, I don't need to worry about it right now. But now you at least have more of a foundation and understanding that, okay, yeah, as I grow and, establish Nexus in new states, like now I know what to do. And I absolutely know not to ignore it, because that liability will accrue in a hurry and you will regret ignoring it. Because even if someone gets, in a position where there's some kind of exit and, for them or, the company or whatever it is, and they never hear from an auditor and never have to pay a penny out of pocket, there's still just, you come to that point and it's like, okay, well, you escaped it, but are you better off than if you would have actually addressed it earlier on? No.
Yeah.
Like that peace of mind's always going to be the win, the biggest win, I'd say.
100%. 100%.
Thanks for hanging out with us on the Sales Tax People podcast. If you want to talk about sales tax, or maybe you have an experience that goes along with something we talked about today, or maybe you just want to hear about how Paul's day is going, make sure you send us an email to podcast@sales.tax, or you can text us at 949-355-5098. See y'all again soon.